listening to On the Verge on WTVU. BU's only music and talk show, bringing you the latest in campus life, entertainment news, and trending topics worldwide, with stories from Verge campus and new music from Good Music All Day. Everything you want to hear.
Minus what you don't.
Every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Hello, everybody. We are back with On the Verge, the official music and talk show of Verge Campus BU. Just a reminder, this is DJ A-Rad,
DJ Tanner,
DJ Ladybug,
DJ Looney Tunes.
And we have our special guest. Give yourself a little shout out.
My name's Danny McCarthy. What else should I shout out? I don't know.
So Danny is a soon-to-be very famous blogger. His blog is called the Wunderkindof. And he is on for our second segment of the show.
What's up, college?
Hot plate.
Beanbag chair.
Hilarious shirt that signals we drink alcohol.
Dude, it's just college.
Yeah, see, that's what I thought. I didn't sleep for 3 days. Found a tattoo on my lower back of a unicorn. I laughed, I cried. So all in all, I'd say it was pretty much the best weekend of my life.
B+? Oh my God. I passed.
You're my boy, Blue! Thanks for missing our meeting, Mr. VP.
I had this job interview, so...
No, clearly you had more important things to do.
So, this is just college things. Today, we wanted to get into everybody's favorite topic these days, politics. Woo! No, we've been wanting to do this, but we were trying to figure out how to best approach it. So I think we're going to more so focus on getting political on a college campus, because I feel like it's just inevitable. And Danny has some great firsthand experience, so that's why we brought him on. He recently put out a post on his blog called Elephant in the Room, My Night with Republicans.
Yes.
So tell us what spurred this blog post.
Yeah, sure. So I I'm the city editor for the Buzz magazine, but this was for the culture section. I proposed writing a piece about college involvement in politics post-election. Because I felt like this election was so crazy and controversial that everyone was involved, but I wanted to see if that would drop off after the election, not anticipating, when I pitched this article originally, not anticipating that the first 2 weeks would be so kind of crazy. So I went to a college Republicans meeting and a college Democrats meeting this past week, and the Republicans meeting, I kind of walked in being like, ugh, these kids are going to be so, like... Can I say Nazi?
Sure.
I felt like I definitely came in with certain very low expectations and really feeling very uncomfortable. And I introduced myself. I was like, oh, I'm a journalist. I'm writing this story. And they were surprisingly welcoming. And I kind of just sat in and listened as they kind of went through the news of the week. They talked about the SCOTUS nominee, Neil Gorsuch. They talked about the inauguration, how many of them had gone, what it was like. And then I kind of started asking questions, and I really was very pleasantly surprised by the answers that I got and how welcomed I felt.
Yeah. So do you consider yourself a pretty openly political person?
Yes. I was not really before this election. I was always kind of aware of it because, I am, an LGBTQ person, so I think it's impossible not to be political on some level because... when you're fighting for your rights, it's kind of hard to not care.
Absolutely.
But I definitely became more aware of it, and I started writing about it more as it was kind of intersecting with pop culture, which is what I primarily wrote about before this. And my own personal life, I kind of just became more aware of it, and I started educating myself a lot more because I like winning arguments, and I don't like going into an argument without knowing all my facts. So that's kind of how it started, and then it just kind of snowballed into something that I really am passionate about and care about.
Yeah. So do you think that it was difficult? Because as a journalist, you're supposed to be kind of that third party. So what was it like going into this situation and completely being biased on the other side?
I think I never say that I'm impartial because I think that's kind of a lie when journalists say that.
Right.
I think, just at, like, when you look at the top news organizations, Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, the New York Times, you know what you're getting with each of them because they all are so biased.
Right.
So you understand, like, MSNBC and Fox News are not going to give you the same information. So something that I'm really frustrated with in, like, school is that they're always telling us to be impartial. Your opinion doesn't matter. No one cares. And I'm like, but everyone has an opinion and everyone's biased. So why am I trying to hide it? So I, like, put it out there right away. Like, if you read my blog at all, I'm very, very openly political. I was very pro-Hillary. I wrote a lot of articles about it, about why Trump was bad, what he was doing negatively. So I kind of go into the meeting and all my work kind of putting it out there that I'm biased, because I think then you can kind of understand that and then look at the facts. Because I try to be really factual and really correct, but I'm not going to hide that I have an opinion, because I think that's kind of lame. I think that's fake. So I went in being like, I'm so much better than these people. These people are so uneducated. I can't believe that they would think that.
Oh, God.
I can't believe, and I was really of the mind of, like, they're all racists. There's no other, they all are racist because, like, that's the only explanation, because of all the hateful rhetoric that Trump was kind of, like, spewing, and all the, like, white nationalist people that came out in support of him. I was like, you can't ignore the fact that you're all racist. So I went in really believing that, and I
hate you all.
really being like, you are all scum, and I
Oh my God.
left being like, oh my God, I actually really like most of you. That's so weird.
So I'm going to read a little portion just to give our listeners a better idea. So this goes off of, like, Polarization, which we just kind of brought up, but, and I quote, "A lot of the conversation, the feelings of dealing with rabid liberals who operated purely on emotion and attacked without information was uncomfortably familiar to me. The sense of defeat when having a conversation with someone on the far other side. Frustration with how polarized everything seems to be. Swap any of the names and I could have easily been sitting in on a group of liberals talking about zealous Republicans. Quote, it's hard being the elephant in the room, literally and figuratively, said Robert, one of the club's executive board members. That earned major laughs from the members and even a surprised one from me. Who knew Republicans could have jokes? He was answering in response to Lydia, a Chicago native who was relieved to find a group of like-minded people in such a liberal city. So that part, especially what you mentioned about Lydia, was really interesting to me, because I know when everything was going down with the elections, like, I thought, we're all being so hateful. Like, I understood where the emotions were coming from, but part of me was like, wow, I feel bad for the kids who identify as Republican on this campus, because it's such a liberal majority.
Yeah.
So what was it like, kind of hearing things like that of, wow, I found this group of people?
I think it was invoking my sympathy when I really didn't want it to. This was towards the beginning of the meeting, and I should also say that all the names have been changed. No one's names are in the same. And this is also a blog that I wrote about the experience. The article has not been written yet.
Okay.
Which will be a lot less opinionated. It'll be a lot more factual. But it was really interesting because I think because Trump won and it's a Republican-held, like, Senate and House, and the SCOTUS is the Supreme Court of the United States is Republican held. I think I kind of forgot that, like, a lot of places they are the minority. They are, especially in Boston, especially in Massachusetts, especially in BU. Mm-hmm. I mean, they threw out some number, which I don't know if it's actually true, but they were like, it's hard when 15,900 people are against you, because, like, we're 16,000 people. But so it was really kind of sad because they are so demonized here. And I was demonizing them, and we were all demonizing them, and it must be really difficult when you have beliefs and everyone is tearing you down for them, specifically for that, and not even looking at your opinion or your point of view or any facts.
Yeah, and I feel like even the professors here kind of assume, because most of the professors are pretty liberal, kind of assume that everyone's on the same page. Because I know, like, the day after the election, 3 of my classes were solely about us talking about what had happened.
Yeah, same.
I had a professor crying, but all of them just, like, walked into the room assuming that everybody was on the same page, and we were, but I thought, like, wow, like, what if there was a student in this class who was actually happy? That must be so uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I think what's important to know is a lot of them aren't happy. Like, something that I feel like I wrote towards the end of the blog is one of the girls talked about voting for Hillary. And one of the questions, that I asked was, is there a conflict that you feel between being a millennial and being a Republican? Because I feel like there's so much kind of, as we move on in history, a lot of social issues become a lot more liberal, and a lot of people are more liberal. And I asked, like, is there that conflict or disconnect between being Republican and being a millennial? And she said, like, yes, I voted for Hillary. I didn't want to, but I voted for her because I couldn't stand with someone who was so anti all these things that I am. And I feel like for a lot of them, it was a conflict of, do I vote Republican, the thing that I believe in, or do I kind of eschew all that and vote for someone that I really don't believe in, I really don't trust, because the other option is so terrible. So I feel like I wasn't allowing for a lot of nuance in talking to them or believing them. I was just like, oh, you voted for Trump, you're a racist. These are the reasons why. I know because I've read all these articles. And I was educated, but I wasn't educated on all sides. I was very educated in the liberal sense of, like, this is what I know, and I've read these articles, and these are backing me up, and I wasn't giving in to the knowledge that it must have been a really hard decision if you believe in so many of the good values of the Republican Party, but saw Trump being so diabolical and evil and mean. That must have been really, really hard, and I think I didn't have to experience that. I didn't have to go through that because I was always Hillary.
Right. Yeah, no, I think my favorite part actually was when you mentioned one of the kids who's from, like, the Detroit area. And he was mainly like, I have to fiscally be Republican because of where I'm from. It's an industrial community. Like, when I think Make America Great Again, that's what I'm thinking of in terms of my family and my community. And I think that's something that a lot of people forget about. And it's hard if you've been brought up a certain way to kind of just completely disown from that side, especially if you feel like that's the solution that's needed for your community.
And it was something I was talking about with a friend yesterday, and I was trying to, like, make sense in my head of, I grew up in New York. I grew up in a very liberal city and a very liberal environment, and so I'm exposed to a lot of different kinds of people, but I don't know anything about fiscal stuff. Like, I'm learning more now, but when a lot of the critique about Neil Gorsuch is that he's kind of will be offering all these tax breaks to the wealthy and, like, dealing with money stuff, but I don't know any money stuff. So for me, I'm looking at him and I'm like, well, all the issues that I care about, he's not that bad on. He's kind of centrist. So I can't process that. I can't think about why people will not like him. So for this kid, like, who probably grew up in Michigan, where maybe the town he was in was not very diverse, and so that wasn't a thing that he ever really had to think about. So the primary thing he was thinking about that was an issue was fiscal. So I could almost see how, if Trump was saying all these kinds of abstract to him terms about, like, diversity and racism and all this stuff, if that was kind of abstract to him and the only real thing was that his mom grew up in Detroit in the 60s and 70s and witnessed the decline of the industrial, like, industry and didn't have a job and no one had a job, I could see how that would sway more important than the diversity side, which for me is very important, but for other people might be outweighed by the need to have a job.
Yeah, I mean, personal values are always going to differ. I think that's, like, one of the hardest things, and that's what makes it so emotional sometimes.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the most challenging part about dealing with political stuff like this on a college campus? Like, have you ever been in uncomfortable situations with friends or? All the
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are certain people I don't talk about politics with, because I know what their answers will be, and I think coming from a journalism background, I'm very much of the mind of, like, I need to know all these things before I talk about anything, or I need to come from a place of at least being open to hearing about something, but a lot of people don't need to because they might be in a liberal city where they don't have to have their beliefs challenged. So I have friends who were very pro-Bernie but not pro-Hillary, and I don't think they voted in the election, and I don't talk about it with them, but I think it's because they just didn't trust Hillary because of all this rhetoric that had been talked about with her, with Benghazi and all this stuff. And I was like, well, let's talk about it. I want to know your opinion on, like, all these things. And they couldn't really give it to me because they had just been, like, recycling what they knew. And so I feel like that's a major issue, is everyone knows a little bit, but not everyone knows a lot, which they shouldn't have to. I mean, like, it's politics. It's not like I focus a lot on it, but that's because it's, like, kind of what I'm doing right now. But it's not everyone's job to know about politics. But I feel like the issue we come into is, like, you have an opinion, but you don't know why you have that opinion, and you can't back it up. And so because you can't back it up, you don't really sway from it because it's, like, so deeply rooted in what you believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a specific also, like, especially on this campus, it's a big issue of just, like, and I hate to use this, like, terminology, but we are in, like, a bit of a bubble of, like, there's been a lot of open conversation on campus, but a lot of it is with varying degrees of liberalism and not a lot of like conservative input.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I grew up in Tennessee, so like I had a lot of conservative input when I was like deciding what I believe.
South Florida, everybody.
And like the just juxtaposition. Oh, I hate that word. Of these two like environments is so interesting to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. I was when I tried to plan this segment last semester, I was hoping to do it near election time. I contacted both the college Republicans and the Democrat equivalent on campus, and neither of them answered me. And I wondered if it was partially like, I don't know, especially for the Republican side. If I bet a bunch of people were like picking their brains. Like BU Today did that thing with the kid who's become notorious for wearing the Make America Great Again hat, that debate with the other kid, and it's like, I don't know, people are almost like making a show out of these other people's genuine opinions because they're so different from ours. It's like these zoo animals. So what solutions do you think that we need or can possibly come up with in terms of just handling things better on a college campus?
I think sitting in and listening to someone else talk and not saying anything. One of the things I made myself do before I asked questions in both meetings was I sat for like a good long portion of the meeting and just listened. And a lot of it was really uncomfortable for me because a lot of it was this kind of like rhetoric that I don't agree with because I'm not a Republican and I don't really understand that side. But I made myself sit and listen and sit through that like really uncomfortable, like my face was so red and I was like, oh my God, I'm sweating so much. Like I already sweat all the time, but I was like sweating so much. And once we kind of got over, I forget what, you're talking about the inauguration and like the Women's March, and the way that they were talking about it was very different than how I had ever heard it be talked about. Like they were like, yeah, it was so fun to be at the inauguration. Like it's exciting. Because I guess if you're a Republican, it is exciting to see a new president be sworn in. But for me, I was coming from the position of like, I went to the Women's March on that next day. Like I was sitting there, I was walking there, and I feel like I have a very different mindset of it. So for that reason, I was like so uncomfortable. I was like, ugh, like, and I wanted to say something and I wanted to be like, actually, that's not true, or actually this thing. But I made myself just like shut up and sit and listen to them. And then it kind of went past the like discomfort level. And then I was just listening. And that really, really changed my opinion of them. Because I was like, oh my God, like I can understand why they're thinking this. And I also think news, I think if you're reading only one kind of news, you're kind of limiting yourself. One of the questions I asked them, the first one I asked them was, where do you get your news? And at first they kind of like all freaked out because they were like, they thought I was asking like, where do you get your news from? Like this is, I'm not going to curse, but this is like not true. But, and I was like, no, I mean like, I'm actually genuinely asking like, where do you get your news from? Because I'm finding it very difficult to find kind of unbiased news. So I read the Wall Street Journal a lot because I like hacked into my dad's login because he got it and I was like, I'm not paying for this. But we all read the Wall Street Journal. Like a lot of them read the New York Times. They talked about like other things. Like none of them read Breitbart. None of them read Huffington Post. None of them read, they like The Hill or USA Today. So I think finding news sources that aren't just reinforcing what you already believe is good. Because I was reading the Wall Street Journal just about the time that the SCOTUS nominee was happening, and I feel like if I had been reading something else, it would have been like a very, very like different view. Like whereas this was kind of like, he's not that bad. Like he's kind of like Merrick Garland in the sense that like he's very centrist. He has a lot of the similar opinions. It's just that he's Republican. I keep knocking into the little thing.
No, I think that's so true. And I think a lot of times, no matter what end you're on, you're assuming that the other side is just consuming trash and all of the radical stuff, which isn't necessarily always true. So I think that's a really good point that you brought up. And you guys had a nice little bonding moment, right, that you mentioned at the end of
Oh, yeah. So I painted my nails this week for the first time, a color called Babe Blue. And I was at the end of the meeting, and I was like packing up, and I was like grabbing people as they were walking out, being like, "Oh, can I get your name for like my article? Like, can I get your name for this?" And these two girls walk up to me, and they were like, "Can I ask you something?" And I was like, still in that mode of like, "Oh my God, are they gonna be like, are you gay or like, what are you doing here?" Or like something like that. I was still like kind of like nervous, and they go, "I've been staring at it all meeting. Where's your nail polish from?" And I was like, "Oh, it's really cute, right? It's Babe Blue, but I don't know the brand." And they were like so distraught because it is such a cute color. But
amazing.
I don't know. It was just really cute.
Cosmetics,
and
bringing both sides of the aisle
beauty,
together.
bringing people together.
So before we let you go, I want to do a fun quiz.
Yes.
I think this is appropriate. Which luxury doomsday bunker should you move to? Just in case.
Okay, yeah.
Just in case anything bad happens.
It's very possible.
You know, I'm not getting political, but.
Mm-hmm.
So pick a bunker.
Oh.
Do any of these appeal to you?
Okay, the top left.
Top left.
I like a
right.
very architectural look.
Yeah, it's like modern.
Good choice.
Pick
good
an
choice.
amenity: movie theater, garden, gym, bar, boutique, restaurant.
Gym.
Yes.
Ew.
I agree with this guy. So far, we're on the same path.
Yes.
Pick a movie: Armageddon, Waterworld, I Am Legend, The Day After Tomorrow, War of the Worlds, Deep Impact.
These are all apocalyptic. My goodness.
Day After Tomorrow, because I love Jake Gyllenhaal in that movie.
Oh, I love Jake
Yes.
Gyllenhaal.
Pick a
I like this
location.
guy's choices.
Wait. Pick a location: South Dakota, Georgia, Germany, Indiana, your backyard, New York.
Well, my backyard is New York, so I'm not going to make either of those. I'll do Georgia.
I like it.
Interesting.
I think the apocalypse might forget about South Dakota. That might be the safest place to be.
Yeah, or they're like, no one's there. It's not worth
That's
it.
the point. Okay.
We'll just pass that. Save some resources.
All right, so your survival kit options include one that has like a shovel, so I'm
Okay.
going to call that the gardener one. Another one's like more medical. This one, what does that look like to
It's
you?
all food.
All food.
But like, what kind of food?
That
Like veggies?
No, like granola.
Ugh. Okay.
What is this? Like to grow your own food?
Oh no, those are like tents and stuff.
Tents.
You don't
just
need that, you have a
just hella
bunker.
tents.
Oh, if I'm in a bunker, yeah, I don't need a tent.
Bunker, veto.
Hacksaw. Or I'm so confused. These all look the same. This
That
one has
looks like
rope.
food.
I like how hacksaw and shovel are kind of the same thing. It's like you kill the person and then you bury them.
So
So take your
hopefully
pick.
You don't need
Um,
those.
I'll pick medical, I guess.
Smart.
I don't know.
That's a good choice.
I'm very
You got-
survivalist right now.
Ooh, you got the survival condo. For a cool $4.5 million, you can live in underground luxury in this 3,600 square foot penthouse in Kansas. You did not pick Kansas. The fancy community even has
Georgia,
an indoor
Kansas.
pool, dog park, arcade, and rock climbing wall. Fun.
Look at that.
Okay, but
You're going to live the life when we all go to hell.
I want to meet the person who throws down $4.5 million on their just-in-case plan.
He's
Like,
right there.
Me.
Sitting across
I had
from you.
4.7 million and I was like, I don't even know what that math would be. I only need like, what is that, $2,000, $200,000?
All right. This has been so fun. Thank you so much for coming on, Danny.
Thank you. Can I just plug my blog one
Please,
last time?
please do.
Do it.
Okay, so it's called The Wunderkindof, and you won't know how to spell it, so I will. THEWUNDERKINDOF.com. And I just did like a new logo, and every single month I do a new header image, and it's really, really cute.
Fancy.
All right,
No,
thank
we
you.
will make
guys.
sure to share the article we talked about on our Facebook. So everybody follow us if you're not. Follow Danny. And stay tuned. We got much more with On the Verge. Gonna take a musical break.